Managing Minds' Pursuit of Happiness. I invite you to engage in a thoughtful dialogue, to ponder the wisdom shared by our esteemed speakers, and to collectively chart a course together towards a more fulfilling existence. Together, let us unravel the secrets of managing minds on the intricate path to happiness. Welcome to an enriching exploration of the pursuit of happiness through the lens of managing minds. I invite to the stage Dr. Manjula Pooja Shroff, the Edupreneur and Managing Director and CEO of the Calrix Group, as well as the Maharani of Orissa. Dr. Shroff's name resonates as a beacon of educational excellence across India. With an unwavering commitment to empowering students, she has significantly touched the lives of more than 65,000 individuals over the past decades. Dr. Shroff's journey is marked by profound dedication to the advancement of education, shaping not just minds but futures. Next, we have Uma Oza, an educationist and transformational coach with a profound commitment to non-violent communication. She has not only presented her insights as an international conference hosted by IIT Delhi, but has also left an indelible mark in mass communication, having edited a youth magazine and anchored programs on ETV and DD Metro. Currently, as the director with the Competitiveness Mindset Institute, visiting faculty at the Institute of Design, Nirma University, and serving in diverse roles, including as an external committee member of the Internal Complaints Committee of the National Stock Exchange, and a trustee on the board of Sahar Varu, Uma Oza stands as a multifaceted mentor and catalyst for positive change. Next, we have our moderator, Abhignya Sajja, who is a writer and academic. She is a PhD scholar working on the genealogy of existentialist philosophy in the works of the canonical Russian author Fyodor Dostoevsky. She finds solace in teaching literature in college classrooms and engaging with students of the domain.
The earlier session talked about gratitude, and I just want to thank all of you for braving the weather, sacrificing your Sunday siesta to be here. So thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Now I'll hand over the mic to our moderator.
Thank you, Shivika. Thank you, Shivika. Right, so welcome, a very warm welcome to all of you. Thank you, as Uma ma'am said, for braving the rain. So today, because our session is called Achieving Success Without Stress, the keyword here is success, right? So we'll first, I think, try and define the idea of success. Like the last session focused upon the idea of happiness, we'll try and define the idea of success. So we're already running short of time, but I'll not take more than a minute. And I want to read this quote by Ralph Waldo Emerson, who is this famous transcendentalist essayist from America. So his idea of success is such. He says to the question, what is success? To laugh often and much, to win the respect of intelligent people and the affection of children, to earn the appreciation of honest critics and to endure the betrayal of false friends, to appreciate the beauty, to find the best in others, to leave the world a bit better, whether by a healthy child, a garden patch, or a redeemed social condition, to know even one life has breathed easier because you have lived. This is to have succeeded. So this is Emerson's idea of success. Now I want to know your idea of success, right? I'm sure it's not a high-profile job, a 9-to-5 corporate stint. It's a much more holistic idea of success. So what is success to the both of you?
That's a loaded question, right? If all of us knew not just what is success, but also what is our own purpose, life would not be a mystery anymore. But it's not the case. I'm going to differ a little bit in that. Oh, let me add. What the definition just talked about is the ultimate success. You know, when somebody did a research of when people are dying and you ask them, what do you regret the most? They say two things. One, I didn't spend enough time with my family. And two, I did not spend enough time with myself. But you know what? That wisdom only comes when you're in your deathbed. It doesn't come ahead of time. So to me, success differs from ages, from the various phases that you're in. I mean, take the example of a college girl. Her level of success is possibly getting marks, keeping her boyfriend happy maybe, and getting a good house to get married to. The day she gets married, her entire goal changes. The goal post itself changes to keeping her family happy, to a lot of other things, right? So things change, goalposts change, and they should. But the point is, are you progressing or are you regressing? It is when we live in the past, when we are constantly beating ourselves up, and we are more unhappy than happy, it's definitely regression. So goalposts are supposed to change age-wise, situation-wise, even gender, man, women, goalposts change. So I think that success is defined by where you are currently. What is important is, do you clearly know what that is? And do you clearly also know where you're going to go from there?
Thank you, ma'am. Uma, ma'am.
Thank you, both of you. I resonate with Emerson's quote and, of course, what Manjula said. Success, as she says, is very subjective. It also depends on the yardstick of measurement. It changes with age, and it must. So for me personally, if you ask me, my idea of success was influenced very heavily by a poem which I read in school, Douglas Mallock's. If you can't be a highway, be a trail. If you can't be the sun, be the star. It's not by the size by which you win or fail. It is be the best of whatever you are. So that to me is success. This was in youth, and as I grew and evolved, I think I have evolved, and I started reading the Bhagavad Gita. It was reinforced by the essence of one shlok, karmanyevadhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana ma karma phala heturbu marte sangosta karmani. So do your work, and the process, give it your best. And if you have given it your best, and there's no regret, of course there'll be lessons if you don't reach the output that you want to. But if you've given it your best, that is success. Because success, again, as she said, is not just one aspect of life. It's not reaching a peak. It encompasses relationships, It encompasses your personal well-being, mental well-being. At the end of the day, I think the previous session on pursuit of happiness is such an overlap into this session, Because at the end of the day, all of us, what we want is happiness. Success brings you happiness, but it's very transitory, Oh, you've aced your exams, you're happy. But it's momentary, because next exam, you may not ace it, right? So I think it's more about what do you want in life, how do you get it in life, and you always win some and you learn some. And if you are ready to learn and have that perspective, I think that's a life which has very successfully been led. That to me is success.
Thank you. How beautiful was that? So, especially because you linked happiness to success, it reminds me of a quote I read just yesterday. And because it's a literature festival, Tolstoy speaks of the exact same thing, where he says that after a year of reflection, after my whole life of reflection and meditation, I come to the conclusion that happiness, meaning a complete life, is entailed by a secluded house in the country where you can be a part of the community.
Absolutely.
Right. So,
in fact, our scriptures talk about it. Man's search is for meaning, purpose, and happiness. Everything that we do, the ultimate goal is happiness. And what gives us joy and happiness right now is transitory. So we are looking for permanent happiness, which you can get only if you're connected to yourself, you're comfortable in your skin, you're happy being who you are.
Just a little bit of a digression. I'm doing my PhD in Russian literature, which is, as you know, rather bleak. So the question that can one be ever happy is a very difficult one.
Existential question.
And the answer to that is yes.
Hopefully.
So every scholar is able to simplify it only because they've reached that point. To complicate anything is very easy. It is to simplify that's the challenge. Any scholar worth anything is able to simplify it because they've hit that bullseye. The answer is really yes. The answer lies in acceptance. The answer lies in being an observer to your situation, to looking at life from here. You don't have to wait to finish 5 decades and start it. Actually, the earlier you start it, the better you will deal with life. This is my personal philosophy because life is experiential. You have to experience life. My personal philosophy is if you are born, death is the only certainty. In between, you're given a great chance to figure out life. And if you don't do that, it doesn't matter what else you do, because the very purpose of your life, you're not going anywhere there. It's like you're just in a vicious circle, doing stuff. So while we live this material life, which is very important, like I said, shifting goals, the ultimate, the higher purpose. You know, why don't the scholars like Tolstoy or Bhagavad Gita make sense to us? Because we don't simplify it. Everything just talks about understanding the ultimate goal of life called death. And it's so profound on one level and so simple on the other side of the coin. So every time there's a goal called a material goal, there has to be a higher self, higher purpose goal. That's when we are ascending. Life is about ascending. Life is about an ascension plan. We can't stay stagnant. Because if we stay stagnant, life just goes by. You get pushed back. Even a banyan tree that's 1,000 years old grows new, what you see the roots hanging out, grows new roots. So nature, at any level, at any age, grows. So at the sake of oversimplification, one material goal, one higher self goal, and that's one step at a time, proceeding, ascending towards the greatest understanding of life, which people call spiritualism, but it's just understanding death.
Thank you. I think when you spoke of acceptance and the acceptance of death and the idea of an absurd universe, you summarized what Nobel Prize winning author Camus speaks about when he says that one must imagine Sisyphus happy. So that is the essence, practically, of all life, right?
I'd like to add to what she said, simplifying it even further. One material goal to higher goal. So if you recall Maslow's theory of needs, you go from the basic physiological love, security, and ultimately it's self-actualization, and now one more is added. Just as Wi-Fi is at the bottom, on the top is transcendence, and that's exactly what it is, really. And yes, I think we have a choice to be happy. At every second, there is a choice that we have. The choice may be scary, the choice may be painful, the choice may be laced with fear, but we have a choice. So yes, I don't agree with the Russian authors. We can be happy. I'm a die-hard optimist.
More power to you. So since another keyword in our session is stress, right? Especially post-pandemic, the dialogue surrounding mental health has been rampant, and legitimately so. So because both of you have worked with students, have worked with young adults, what is it that stresses them out, and how does one deal with it as parents, as colleagues, as friends? So how do you deal with it?
So the statistics about young adults' mental health is not at all encouraging. UNICEF talks about one youth amongst every 21 being either depressed, anxious, or stressed out. There is another disturbing statistics of NIMHANS, which is the Mental Health Institute of Neurosciences in Hyderabad, that says that almost 75% of young adults go through acute pressure. The number one stress point being academics, number two being relationship, social matters.
Yeah.
And in neither of them, the survey says that they have parental support. It is one of these statistics that actually led to this book on parenting. Because if we do not look at parenting in the way it's supposed to be looked at, I think we'll have a whole generation of frustrated, depressed youth. And that's a scary place to be in. Let's look at what causes stress, right? There are two, if I may, F words: fear and failure. These are two fundamental words that if we get a handle on, stress is a byproduct of either of these two. Parenting is about creating an understanding or an environment for the child to deal with either fear or failure. And psychologically, fear and failure are two very critical elements. Fear starts right at toddler. And you know, this book is divided into age specificity, right from toddler to, from infant, toddler, preschool, school going. So at very early ages, children are scared of even insects and animals, to fear of rejection by friends. And let's talk failure in this AI world. You know that robots are already playing badminton, playing chess. Failure is a given. When our students are going to compete with AI, they are going to fail. Very early in life, unless we understand fear and failure and get the youth to understand and tackle fear and failure, we will continue to have children who commit suicide if they don't get what they want. And that's just an emotionally unbalanced person who has not understood that life is bigger than marks. And somewhere we as adults failed. So to my mind, if we look at fear and failure, get an understanding and teach our kids, stress will take care of itself.
So just to add to that, very simply, in a line, I think stress arises when there is dissonance with reality. There is expectation and there is reality, and they don't match, and that's what causes stress. Apart from academic stress, relationship stress, family stress, peer stress. So hard look at yourself. And in my workshops, I introduce the process called aura. You know, aura, develop your aura, and everybody thinks of this energy field. I say, no, aura is awareness, understanding, reflection, and action. Become aware of yourself. Understand what are your gray areas, what are your strengths. Embrace the disowned self. Reflect on it. What is it that you want to change? How do you want the needle to swing? In which way? Find strategies and act on it. That, I think, will, connecting to the self, I think living in awareness, conscious living. When you are doing accidental living, that causes stress, according to me.
Words to live by, but I think very difficult to emulate.
Doable. I really believe doable. I said I'm a die-hard optimist. So it's you know, we are all work in progress. Derailment will happen. But if you live in awareness, you also know that derailment is happening. Let me get back on track.
I think failing better is the key.
Failing forward.
Yeah.
So the Google's byline, by the way, is fail fast, fail forward. Don't be afraid of failure, because it only means that you're trying. You just have to go to the next iteration. So it says fail fast. The earlier you fail, the better it is. But fail forward, which means learn from the failure. And which Uma said earlier, there is only you win or you learn. There is no losing.
There is no losing.
There's no losing. There's only victory or learning. So this is very critical, and it's important that we actually imbibe it in our students. You know what, I have to, we're sitting in Ahmedabad, and if you don't make a mention of the World Cup, thoda disconnect reh jayega. Allow me that 30 seconds, please. While the world was looking at, I'm an educationist, so I always look from the eyes of students and learning. While that fateful day happened in Narendra Modi Stadium in Ahmedabad, when the team lost, right, it broke our hearts in front of 1 lakh people. Kitne aspirations leke baithe the log. It showed me 1, 2, 3 things. The first thing it showed me is that new India has arrived. Agar ye cheez 10 saal pehle hoti, Team India would be butchered, battered. What level of criticism they would have got. Today, India stood with emotional strength with Team India. We have emotionally arrived. Look at the sensitivity pouring out. That's my first learning. The second thing is, when Virat Kohli broke that 50, that milestone of Sachin Tendulkar, what a great way to do it. That attitude of gratitude, which the earlier speaker spoke about, Dr. Sudhir Shah was talking about it, you all would have heard of him. He's a Padma Shri. How gratitude is so critical. Here is a man who is setting a milestone that it will take decades to break. His first, he gives gratitude to the man whose record he broke. What a way to win. What a way to defeat somebody with gratitude. So Virat Kohli's attitude to gratitude is a great example of dignity of winning. And the third one that I could not miss is the Indian education system, which is so examination driven. तो क्या हो गया if हर साल आप every term exam में A grade लाते हो? Final exam में in that one math paper, if you didn't do well, you will fail. तो क्या हो गया if you're an outstanding student 365 days? But if that day you fell sick, if that day something bad happened in your family, that day you came to the examination hall late and didn't do well in that physics paper, you failed. And that is what happened to Team India. So what if they got 10 out of 11 matches, winning spree? They lost the final exam. That's what we do to young children. We never forgive them for that one science, one math, one English paper that they don't do well for some psychological issues. It drove home that examination point to me so hard, saying, good God, this is Indian examination system happening today. Written large all over the world, the whole world saw it. But hum log, we don't even forgive chote bacche. We don't forgive. Our examination system is very cruel. So is life. But that is life, right?
Astrological.
जी, कहिए सर, कहिए.
The child fails at the last exam, the mother takes console in the fact that the child is quite brilliant, but her stars were not good, or his stars were not good, but in the next exam he is going to be absolutely outstanding. So that is one way of getting the faith reposed in ourselves. So that probably that could give some kind of a respite to them also, who knows. So that is what I am trying to tell. There has to be somewhere something.
We have to fool our minds, right? To stay healthy and happy. Thank you, sir, for that.
Also, you alluded to parenting. Okay. So you alluded to parenting, right? And as they say that any family with more than one person in it is a dysfunctional family. So what advice, what advice do you have for parents whilst dealing with children? A simple line to live by, perhaps.
I'll give you one line that I myself have used. I have learned to respect the child from the cradle. I have learned to have open conversations and neutral conversations from the child at all age. Of course, age-appropriate conversations. But the child has to have a mind and voice of their own. They have to be respected. And this comes from deep-rooted positive psychology. We run a special program for special learning children, and a lot of those studies taught me this. For those of you who don't know in this room, we are a bunch of educationists, and we run schools, the Delhi Public School, the Calric School, the Prerna School for special learning needs, which is where the research is coming from. The fundamental need of human beings is only one: the need to be understood and appreciated.
Loved.
Right? Loved.
Sense of belonging.
Sense of belonging. So it is that one. If your child at any point feels that they don't have an identity of their own, which is loved and appreciated, they go through the crack. And the only other thing that I want to say this in this context is when the children are teenager, it's a crossroad for them. They're struggling to move from childhood to adulthood. At that time, they are fighting for their own identity. And you know, we as Indians, our parenting style is rather dictatorial. हम बच्चों को, you know, instructions देते रहते हैं. So we are dictatorial, they are finding the space. So it's like opposites. And that's the time there's maximum conflict. If there's only one advice I can give, be a friend during teenage. I'm not saying don't draw the line. I'm saying respect the voice, talk to them, convince them, bring them on the side. Dictatorialism, authoritative tones are not going to work. Absolutely. Who better than the parent, right? Lifetime friendship.
I know we are running short of time. Due to paucity, I'm not going to expand on that. Completely resonate with what Manjula said. I am a very hands-on person, and so I'm going to suggest a technique which parents and young adults can use. That is the PRIME framework. PRIME. So 20 minutes a day for sweating and stretching, physical exercises. 20 minutes for rejuvenation, pursue a hobby. 20 minutes for an intellectual pursuit. Listen to a podcast, read a story to your child, encourage the child to read. So there is physical exercise, there is rejuvenation, there is intellectual, mental well-being. Focus on your breathing. You can do it anywhere. 20 minutes a day, just breathe. Deep, sitting here, listening to us, breathe in, breathe out. Deep exhalation, deep inhalation. And emotional management. If you use this 20 minutes PRIME framework, there will be no stress in life. And for emotional management, again, I encourage, I work a lot with instructional leaders, and I introduce the GLAD journal. GLAD, very simple. What am I grateful for today? What did I learn today? What did I achieve today? And what delighted me today? And there is so much of positivity in the world that I don't think stress can छू भी नहीं सकता है फिर तुमको. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. I think I'll ask you one last question before we have another question from the audience, because we are running short of time. So now one speaks of edutech. One speaks of merging IT and technology with education. But there's also the flip side to technology and the internet. You write about it in your book. You talk about the problematic use of internet, PIU. So it is very imperative to ask the question that does one consume technology or does technology consume one? So how does one deal with children or young adults and teach them the correct use of technology today?
So the latter is true, right? We are all consumed by technology. The children don't realize that they themselves are the consumers. They believe that they're contributing to social media, but actually social media has got us captive. There are one or two, during this, talking all over India about this book on parenting, there were a couple of instances that kind of we heard from audiences like this. One of them is the very lethal games that the internet exposes children to. One of them being the black box, where children are apparently challenged to find a household object and to strangulate themselves. Because
there was a blue whale earlier.
There was a blue whale and the
game.
ice bucket.
Yes,
so many,
the
right?
Ice bucket challenge.
So many, right? While the children are doing this, they don't realize the game is that you should feel the blood going to your brain. The sad part is, in Bangalore, a child just strangulated and died with a cord in his house. The other one that I may have also spoken about in other forums is something called a fire fairy. It seems, you get it from the tooth fairy concept.
Yeah.
So apparently younger children are encouraged to stand in front of the gas burner all night. If they wait till morning, they'll turn into a fire fairy. And young children, age 5, have suffered third-degree burns. How lethal is that? Your gamings, जब छोटे बच्चे हम लोग उनको games दे देते हैं, and they're playing at night. We really don't know what's going on. So you're thinking that your child is playing a game, but they're playing with adults, they're playing with older people. And since this is a, literary, I'm going to just be very blunt about it, we really don't know what children are learning. They could be learning pornography. In the night, a lot of dark activities happen online. And the older children are not responsible. If you're an 11th grader, you'll easily teach a 6th grader, which is like a 5-year difference, how to masturbate online. These things do happen. We as educationists have always shied away from topics like this. But it's time to bring it out. It's time to talk. Because today more than ever, our children are online. Today more than ever, our children are exposed to things that you and me were not. Those landscapes have changed forever, and post-COVID more so. So EdTech should be about how should the teacher engage with technology for better learning. That's the positive outcome. The negative outcomes are these things: physical intimacy, romance, sexting, date rapes. You know what date rapes are, right? Young children go out together and then somebody mixes a drink and your friend who you trust. These are things are happening. We are just shying away from talking, but these things are happening. So this book is actually based on case studies and research. It's not, and data points. It was about time that we as educationists started to talk because children's lives were at threat. And I encourage people to either go online or please pick up a copy. We are happy to give you copies. But be responsible, whoever you are. If you're a teacher, more so because you're an influencer. Talk to parents. Create awareness. What is happening online is absolutely not safe for our children.
I often get invited by institutions for parenting workshops, and one of the questions is, how do we control screen time? So I tell them, let's meet after a fortnight. First, journal your hours of screen time, because children actually observe and learn from you, right? Very often, because in schools and educational institutions, you can have firewalls. What do you do at home? I have seen parents come at a social gathering with a grandchild, and they are so excited about meeting their family and friends that they'll quickly give the tab to the grandchild, you know, because nobody wants to engage with the child. We don't have the time, we don't have the patience. So I think a hard look at ourselves first and how do we use technology is what is really, really called for. And we need to walk the talk. For 20 years I lived in Mumbai and my husband was posted in Ranchi. And when I went there, Ranchi, I'm talking of some years back, had the maximum students joining, cracking the IIT mains. And I found when I went, visited their homes, that the entire family would not have a cable connection because it distracted the children. If the parents watched it, it distracted the children. What did I find? I said, what about entertainment? How do they relax? They took me to a room which had a 20,000 piece puzzle where the grandmother, the mother, the father, the aunt, the guest, the friend, whoever came, worked on it. And that room was blocked like that. So there are ways and ways in which technology is here to stay, okay? We can't go back. We have to embrace it, but we have to find judicious ways to deal with it. There are pluses, there are minuses, like everything in life. So we just have to moderate it and find it. Unconditional love and acceptance for everything, including technology, is what I advocate. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Do we have time for a question? One question. We can have a couple of questions from the audience.
One has become couple. And it's going to
Short
stay
question,
there.
please. Yes.
So, does anyone have a question?
Great. I think we've done
No,
it.
no.
तनाव की वजह से बड़ी बड़ी हस्तियों ने आत्मघात कर लिए बड़ी बड़ी हस्तियों ने ये तनाव स्ट्रेस की वजह से जो आत्मघात कर ली है तो कैन यू गिव द एग्जांपल्स
देखिए, बड़े हस्ती तो तब होते हैं जब आत्महत्या नहीं करते हैं।
हाँ, क्या बात है, बहुत बढ़िया।
आत्महत्या उन्होंने अगर कर ली है तो समथिंग वाज अ मिस इन अंडरस्टैंडिंग लाइफ। सो हम एग्जाम्पल्स अगर सही देंगे तो बच्चे सही सीखेंगे। So let us not go there, let's actually encourage that people understand that life is bigger than everything and life is very long. जो आज दिखता है ना, जैसे the world is crumbling, कल सुबह कुछ और दिखेगा, उसी रात को निकाल देना है, वही moment निकाल देना है. That's all there is to life. Everything in life is illusionary and transient. Nothing is permanent. तभी तो माया बोलते हैं.
Can I add something to that?
So I think we don't have time for
I would just like to add something to that. बचपन से हमें सिखाया गया है कि हम हमारी कमियों को कबूले नहीं, सबके सामने बात ना करें. Vulnerability is not a weakness.
Yes.
If we can understand that, if we can talk about what I'm going through, I'm feeling low, I don't know, I need help. If we cross that barrier, I think a lot of lives can be saved. And I'm not promoting anybody, but Netflix पे Brené Brown ने बहुत काम किया है vulnerability पे लिए, and she's got this documentary, The Courage to Call. Yes. Please see that. Yeah. And I think our educational institutions, our society has to encourage people to be vulnerable and look at it as a strength and not as a weakness.
Very nice, yes.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I think we are just running short of time, so no more questions.
Yeah, thank you for an amazing session. Now I'd like to call Dr. S.K. Nanda and Mr. Ketan Trivedi to give out the mementos.
In the previous session we had Iti, in this session we had Nirali. These are all our colleagues. It's so good. So good. अच्छा अच्छा कौन से जगह देते हैं कर देते हैं कि अहमदाबाद में भी कर लेते हैं you received it अभी खोल देते हैं लोगों के सामने Just take mine. I have. देखिए मेरा ऑथर्स कॉपी लेके घूमती हूँ. Thank you so much. Thank you. Okay.
मैंने शुरुआत में ही भगवत गीता को कोट किया था.
Welcome to AILF 2023, and over here we have Miss Manjula Pooja Shroff, and we'll ask her some questions. Ma'am, how do you think this contribution of AILF is to the society?
So I'm an educationist, and reading is very close to my heart. So the very first contribution that's 3-day literary fest like this is going to do is to put the interest of reading back, because unfortunately, as we've all become e-readers, our attention spans are shrinking. The ability to read something in depth, to chew on it, to reflect on it, to assimilate, and perhaps let that become a part of our life is becoming shorter by the day. And it is so critical, and since I work with youth and children, it is so critical that we read. I mean, books are the first guru.
True.
So I think it's a great, I was talking to Umaji earlier saying it's a great platform, and I'm so happy that we have one like this in Ahmedabad. Ahmedabad is anyways very rich culturally. The Literary Fest only adds to that richness and compliments to the team.
Ma'am, another question. How was your experience of AILF?
So good. This is my first experience, and I'm glad that we were able to make some points. Of course, I was talking about stress management in the youth and how parents and adults and faculty can help that. I thought, and the session before us was on happiness. The one later was on best-selling books. I think the topics are well curated. It's sort of overall, it's very literary at the same time, ensuring that there is some value addition to the human being, which I thought was a great mix of subjects. So yeah, all in all, going good.
Well, ma'am, congratulations on your book, and thank you for coming. Thank you. And over here we have Miss Uma Oza, and we'll ask her some questions regarding the same. Ma'am, how was your experience about AILF?
Wonderful as a participant and even better as an audience. Thank you so much for inviting me. I've thoroughly enjoyed my session, particularly the session on the pursuit of happiness. That was thought-provoking, and I resonated a lot with what was presented by all the speakers. Yeah.
Ma'am, then how is your thought about the contribution of AILF to the society?
I think AILF is the need of the hour, particularly when we are living in a digital world. The youngsters are more and more behind the screens. So when you provide a platform like this, people meet, people interact, we stop living in silos and we become a continent. So I think it's very important to have events like the AILF. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for coming. Welcome to AILF 2023, and over here we have Miss Abhignya, and let us ask some questions regarding the same. Ma'am, how was your experience regarding AILF?
I think I had a very great time here. The sessions were very stimulating. I've been a moderator here yesterday and for a session today. So I think I'm greatly enjoying myself.
Ma'am, how do you think AILF is contributing to the society?
I think any dialogue on literature and culture is very imperative today, especially post-COVID when mental health is on the low. So I think AILF is one event when everybody who is associated with literature gathers in one physical space and discusses literature, which is very imperative today.
Well, thank you, ma'am, for coming. Thank you.
Thank you.